everyone. This is your girl Sade reporting live from Win in STEM podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Before I deep dive into today's episode, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone for your love and your support that you've shown me so far. Thank you for your calls, your texts, your liking, commenting, subscribing, repost, retweet, all of the above. Before releasing this podcast, I was a little hesitant, but the love and support that y'all have shown me is really pushing me to continue on with this platform. And I know that someone will be impacted in a positive way. So once again, thank you so much. And I really appreciate y'all. So I thought it would be a great idea to start a series called How It Started, How's It Going? And I have a really great guest with me today. Her name is Monique Farrell. We go back to 2010 UMass Amherst days, our
Whoop whoop.
undergrad engineering degree. So on this podcast, I want all my guests to hype themselves up, talk about themselves, don't be shy, brag. So I want to give this opportunity for Monique to let the listeners know who you are.
Well, hello everyone. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you, Sade. I'm going to be the first podcast interviewee, so really excited about that. Again, my name is Monique Farrell. I am Caribbean American. I'm the second oldest of 8 children. So that grind mode has always been instilled in us, and I really wouldn't be where I am today without my village. So shout out to them first and foremost. Thank God as well. I started in STEM, I would say back in middle school, and I've just been continuing to engage, do different internships. I got a bachelor's in chemical engineering from UMass Amherst, and then I went on to get my master's and PhD in material science and engineering. And I did that in 3 years, in, out, have to move on, get this money. And I started working at an aerospace and defense company back in 2017. It's been just over 3 years. And back in February of 2020, I just was recognized as most promising engineer in industry by the BEA conference. So it's been a whirlwind, and I'm excited to be here learning and, of course, um, just striving to be great.
Yes, and that's what we're here for. We love to hear it. Yes, girl. So our first question, so this podcast is really geared to STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. So what made you pursue a degree, a career in STEM? What age were you introduced? Did you have family, mentors that inspired you to pursue this field?
I didn't have any family members in STEM, but I'll be forever grateful to a cohort of students that came from UMass Amherst to my middle school in Springfield, Massachusetts, Chestnut Middle School, and they actually started an after-school extracurricular program where we were focusing on engineering, the scientific method. I actually built a hydrogen fuel cell car. One of my other friends built a solar powered car. And then the third person in our group, I believe she was doing things with E. coli bacteria. And that's really where my kind of interest in engineering, even though I didn't really know it was engineering at the time, but that's where my interest in engineering and doing things with my hands and building things really started. And out of that experience, I went to my very first technical conference out in California. We flew out there and we participated in the Novoshe conference, and I actually won second place in that. And so that was in middle school, and that kind of kickstarted it. Fast forward to high school, I was doing a lot of internships and workshops and seminars in health and biology and microbiology. So I was starting to, I guess, shaped my vision of the things that I was interested in. And as I went to go apply to colleges, I was applying to biology programs, biotechnology programs, but nothing in engineering. And I would say a series of unfortunate events actually, fortunately, landed me in engineering for sure. And so somehow, at the start of 2010, even though I was trying to get into biology and biotechnology, I ended up at UMass Amherst in chemical engineering. And so, talk about fish out of water. I didn't know what I was doing. The maths were very difficult, the physics were very difficult, and I struggled, but I was able to find the minority engineering societies like Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers and National Society of Black Engineers, and I embraced them and they embraced me, and I was able to kind of get more confidence that I could finish the work and complete this degree. And so that's exactly what I did. I did some internships out in Indiana. I was at a contract pharmaceutical company, and I was also at Indiana University, Purdue University. And along the way, I just started gathering transferable skills. And then finally, after graduating with my bachelor's, that's when I went and joined the Purdue group at Norfolk State, and I graduated. And then I just, at this point, I'm all in on engineering, and so that's kind of how it started. How it started was an extracurricular activity in middle school, and how it's going right now is I'm knee deep in engineering, and I couldn't be happier.
That's great. So you briefly touched about challenges. Can you describe your biggest challenge you faced at school, like either UMass or Norfolk State, as a person of color majoring in engineering, and how did you overcome it?
I would say in undergrad, as a person of color, the hardest thing was at first feeling like I was the only person of color. And I would definitely say being Caribbean, culture is everything. Food and music, the vibe, and not having that immediately when I stepped onto the predominantly white institution that is UMass, it was like a culture shock. And then on top of that, not being technically equipped to handle like the calc ones and the physics and things like that. I was behind before I had even started. So those were the two major things, the cultural shock and then the rigor of the academics. And so I would say finding those minority engineering societies and then people that I could study and work with actually really addressed both of those two issues and really created a foundation that I could move forward on.
I definitely understand being the only person of color. Since elementary, I've always been either the only black female or the black person in general in class as I took honors and advanced courses. And sometimes it's difficult, going through all these engineering classes, physics classes, and not able to see people that look like you that you can call on. But it's really those different diverse organizations like NESB, National Society of Black Engineers, NOPA, SHIP, that provide a form of community to help you get through all the difficulties in school.
100%.
So, since we talked about how it started, now you want to talk about more of how's it going. So, what are the steps that you took that led to your current role?
So it's definitely been a shift. I'll start with that. So for my PhD, although it was in material science and engineering, I was focusing more on pharmaceutical and bio applications. But when I went to start pursuing job positions, I was having actually a really hard time with getting job offers. I interviewed for one biomedical device company all the way up to the vice president level, 5 or 6 times, and I was not able to secure a position, and it was just weird. I don't know why. I honestly think that those doors were being closed for a reason. Hindsight is 2020, and it was leading to the exact perfect position that I am in now. But I definitely do want to highlight that for the people who are listening, that sometimes closed doors just mean a redirection to where you're supposed to be. So finally, I started opening up my search and not just focusing on biomedical or biotech companies. And that's when I stumbled upon the world that is aerospace and defense. And so I interviewed with them actually at the 2017 NESB conference, and I was pretty much hired on the spot. And so it's just interesting for me to look back and see, the place where I was supposed to be. It was so easy to get a job offer, but all of the other places that I was pursuing where I wasn't supposed to be in, that probably wouldn't have made me happy. It was very difficult, and it totally makes sense now. So in my current position, I'm a senior principal engineer, and I focus on a lot of continuous improvement efforts and projects. How do we make our processes safer, and how do we make them more efficient are some of the questions that I ask myself on a daily basis, and try to support my organization that way. I would say that it's going really, really, really well. I actually just got a promotion back in July, and
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
yeah, so excited, very excited. But I would say definitely it's going so well, not just because of, my ability to work hard and grind, but it's also the mentorship that I've gathered and kind of collected a new village along the way to support me in my professional career. And so I think it's been wonderful so far. I've started to interact with different groups that I wouldn't have before. I'm currently teaching ever since I came to my company now. I've taught workshops and trainings and seminars. And so, yeah, I really, really enjoy it.
So you touched a little bit about teaching workshops and seminars. How did you go about finding those opportunities? Did you have these organizations and university reach out to you, or did you reach out to them? How did that start?
Well, in graduate school, I did teach a class. And so, from that perspective, teaching was not new to me. And so when I started working at my company and I started getting skills and certifications in Lean Six Sigma and project management, it's just kind of natural to kind of give back, right? And so one of the ways that I like to give back is through knowledge sharing and teaching. And so I've probably taught over 150 plus employees at this point, ranging in topics from process engineering to statistical process control, project chartering, and just a lot of other things. But I sought out these opportunities to kind of give back in that fashion within my company.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, people have certainly done it for me, so I really do feel obligated to, increase that pipeline and get the next set of engineers kind of up and running and geared to go.
Yes, we need it. We definitely need more representation because although the field is booming, a lot of jobs are coming out, especially during COVID season. But it's just us people of color. We are not there. We're not present. So anything to help, as we climb up the ladder, bring people up with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I do also like that ladder concept, but I also like the idea of, kind of like an escalator or just something a little bit easier than a ladder. That's my goal. It's not only to allow you to reach the levels that I've reached, but kind of smooth out that path for you as well. So it's not as strenuous and impossible and overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So now that you are, stable in your career, have you come across any challenges? And if so, how did you address those challenges and have they ultimately helped you move forward in your career?
That is a great question. I mean, there are always challenges when, working. And so I would say to address any challenge, you need two things. You need to really understand the problem, and then you also need emotional intelligence. A lot of times there are problems at work, not because the process is broken or something like that, but it's the people. And there's certain dynamics there that you have to understand first before you can even resolve the technical issue. And so I would say for me, making sure that I have that emotional intelligence kind of turned way up so I can understand all of those intricacies around me in terms of interpersonal relationships and company dynamics and organizational cultures has really allowed me to navigate some of the tougher situations because I understood that, you know, there's some underlying things here that need to be addressed first before we could even talk about the technical issues. So I would say any problem that I've come up with so far, I've been able to use emotional intelligence and then just kind of, you know, technical data, facts, recommendations to overcome those.
That's really good. So another question that we have. So as a Black STEMinist, we sometimes find ourselves as the only person of color in the room. Have you ever felt that you had to turn down your Blackness or change yourself to be accepted?
Yes, and I think that's kind of like it's kind of a hard question to respond to because I am definitely an advocate of you have to know the game you're playing. You have to know it well enough to understand the rules, and then you have to know it two times as well to then change those rules. And so I'm at the point right now where I feel like I understand corporate America well enough that I can now start incorporating more of myself and still be secure in my job position, be secure in my authority and ability to make technical recommendations and lead technically. So one of those examples would be back in 2017 when I did my big chop of my hair and I went completely natural and no more relaxer and things like that. I was definitely concerned, you know, going into an aerospace and defense company, how that would be perceived. And so I braided my hair up, and that's how I kind of wore it to work for a long time. And then I was able to kind of understand the game, the culture within my organization, and realize that, okay, they respect me technically now. All of these things are happening. I'm going to start introducing them and more to my culture so that hopefully they'll, you know, be more accepting. I mean, it shouldn't be that way, but it's the name of the game. It is what it is. And so after I
Mhm.
understood that, you know, the rules of engagement, I was able to start shifting it little by little. Now I wear my fro completely. I've worn head wraps, you know, I've done, you know, everything. But I would say I think I did it well in my execution in terms of this is who I am at face value, and then just kind of giving them more and more doses of Caribbean Monique as we went along. And now I'm completely me.
I love that concept because I struggled with the same thing too. Um, the way I approached it also was, let me approach this role, let me sit back, let me study the culture, the way we interact as a team, and then I'll introduce myself little by little. Previously, I would not wear my hair, my natural hair in a fro. But once I got comfortable, my friends know me. Every 2 weeks, I have a different hairstyle. One week I'll have braids. Next 2 weeks I have my natural
Yep.
hair. I'll
Yep.
have a wig, head wrap. But I think my team came to understand that my appearance does not affect the way I work. My work will always be 100. My work ethic will stay the same regardless.
Exactly. And then it gives them different visuals of what professional looks like.
Hmm.
And it's not just straight hair.
Definitely. So, what is a great way to stand out and be seen as an asset on your work team as a person of color?
I would say the ways that I've stood out the most is by doing good work and then also taking leadership roles. Because you can do good work all day long, But if the work that you're doing is not visible, then you're not going to get the promotions or the recognition that you're seeking. So there needs to be a combination of performance and visibility. So you need those two things to really kind of stand out and be recognized. Because if you have I should coin this actually, but but if you have the visibility and you're not performing, then that's not a good situation. And then if you're performing but nobody knows the great work that you're doing, that's also not going to produce ideal outcomes, right? So you really need that double whammy of you're performing and everybody knows you're performing.
Definitely. And I know that sometimes, you have all these different opportunities that may arise for you to, to stand out, but we sometimes get this imposter syndrome and doubt and fear that that we're a fraud, that we can't complete those, opportunities and tasks. So, have you ever experienced that, and how did you overcome it?
So, I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't say it. My confidence comes from God, period. So
Yes, yes,
I don't know where other people are going to get their confidence from, but that's where my confidence comes. So I know that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I just need to figure out how to put these pieces together after that. So for people who are dealing with imposter syndrome and things like that, you need to find a place in yourself that you can be so secure and so confident that even if you don't know how to get from your current position A to your desired position B, that you know you're going to make it. You're going to be able to rally and pull together whatever resources that you need. You're going to be vocal in the things that you require to get your job done, and that you're going to be willing to be disciplined and put the time in to bridge that technical gap or knowledge gap that you have. And after that is just pretty much execution. So I start with knowing that I am gonna do this, and then the details just come after that. Honestly.
Mhm. And then one thing I like to add, also remember that all the accomplishments that you made in the past, if you can do X, Y, and Z back then, what makes you think you can do it now?
Exactly.
And also, believing in God and, hey, God got me through this situation and He gave me the skills and asset to complete this milestone and task. What makes me think that He won't do that and continue to do that for me in the future?
Exactly. And so I definitely encourage everyone, if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, embrace that uncomfortability and just know that that means that you're pushing yourself,
Mm,
and that's
yes.
something to be applauded. Because if you're 100% comfortable, that means you're not growing. So be encouraged.
So, for our last question, so for our listeners out there, what is your tip or advice for us people of color to win in STEM?
What is the advice to win in STEM? I think the biggest thing for me and what has excelled me is that I am very specific in my goals. And out of all of my goals, they are always prioritized. And so, with that prioritization just ingrained in me, it's very easy for me to make the decisions quickly about what's going to push me forward and closer to what I've defined as success, and what's going to distract me or take me away from that. I would even remove STEM. In order to win in life, that's something that you're going to have to figure out. What does Monique want? What does Sade want? And if something comes up that doesn't align with that, then it's got to go. It's got to go. There's no parking space for you to sit. There's no cot for you to sleep. You got to
Got
go.
to go, deuces.
And so in academia, this is the same thing you have to figure out as well. In your professional life, these are the things that you have to figure out as well, because there will be quote unquote opportunities that come your way. But if they don't funnel up into what you've defined as, this is what I want, this is going to make me happy, this is how I'm going to reach my success, then, you know, it might look shiny, but it's not gold, and you just have to keep moving past it. So that's what I would say. Stay focused. A specific example of that would be for my advisor in graduate school. He wanted me to have like 5 or 6 first author publications. And so from outside looking in, it's like, oh, the more publications, the better, Monique. Well, I knew from very early on that I wanted to go into industry. To go into industry, I didn't need 5 or 6 first author publications. 4 first author publications would have been adequate. And so, because I knew where I wanted to go, I was able to see that, hey, this is additional work that's not going to get me any closer to where I need to go. So, I was able to have that conversation with my advisor. And after I got that 4th publication, I graduated. So, it's examples like this of knowing exactly what you want help you to weed out any extra fluff or nonsense or foolishness that is just going to take you away from getting to your next goal.
I totally agree. Thank you so much, Monique, for all the gems that you were dropping. Oh, goodness. I know our listeners will appreciate this. So, is there any way that, if our listeners want to get in contact with you, how they can reach you? I know you have a consulting business. Hint, hint, shameless plug.
Oh, thank you, shameless plug. I'll pick it up. Yes, I am the founder and CEO of my training slash consulting company called Your Engineered Solutions. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can also find me on Google. If you type in yourengineeredsolutions.com, I'll come up. And basically, this is a company all about academic and professional development, whether that's one-on-one or if that's more of a workshops, larger group facilitation. I also do that as well. I actually just completed one yesterday. It was a virtual workshop for Tennessee State University, their engineering graduate students. And it really focused on strategic goal setting and identifying, creating, and managing your support network, your support system, or your key stakeholder network as a graduate student, and how you can use this to basically expedite, streamline your graduate process. So, if you're an undergrad all the way up to a professional and you need help with next steps, strategizing, definitely come my way because I can help you out for sure. And so again, I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me, Monique Farrell, or www.yourengineeredsolutions.com. All one word. Thanks.
Thank you. And to caveat, Monique is popping. When I tell you, whenever I have any type of career or business questions, Monique is the top 5 people I go to. So if you need help, career wise, business wise, she is the girl to go to. So I highly recommend her. And I'll make sure to include her information in the podcast description so you can be set up with her. So once again, thank you so much, Monique. I really appreciate you spending time with us today. And I look forward to more podcast episodes with you on it.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe the next time, by the time we do another podcast, I'll have my book ready. So shameless plug there.
Ooh, okay, book.
But no, in all honesty, thank you so much, Sade. I think this podcast is amazing and it's gonna touch a lot of people. So I'm excited to see the impact.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, that is all. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And until next time, go out and win in STEM.
Oh, I like that. Go out and win in STEM, you all.